Tell me something I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that they do have a little bit of remorse in having to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo because you know you're getting toward the end of the Tom Brady era. And Jimmy Garoppolo, in the 5 starts that he had for the San Francisco 49ers, proved enough to that organization to earn a $127.5 million contract. To me, you don't have a succession plan in place for Tom Brady. So now that you know that you probably got him for another year or two, this is a situation where you like to have that natural handoff like we saw with Joe Montana and Steve Young or Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And the New England Patriots, they were forced because of a contract issue to have to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo before they wanted to. They couldn't have the dynamic of Tom Brady's backup making more than him going into 2018.
Well, and they might have seller's remorse, but it was a product they had to sell. Now, you can argue they should have traded him to Cleveland and gotten more for it. That Belichick showed his soft heart for the first time ever and actually caring about the situation in Garoppolo landed. But, I mean, the franchise tag for a quarterback this year is $23 million. You're going to franchise him with Brady still on the roster. You're going to cut Tom Brady. Is that what we're talking about here? You're gonna sign Garoppolo to a long-term deal, even if so. Garoppolo got 5 for $137, but had he stayed in New England, he wouldn't have showed those last 5 games. Okay, so even if you get him to take the Ryan Tannehill deal from 4 years ago, that's 4 for $77. That's $19 million a year. Like
more than Tom Brady still.
It's more than Tom Brady, and it puts your combined quarterback room salary at the highest in the league instead of one of the lowest in the league that doesn't have a rookie starting quarterback. Like, it was just an untenable situation. Tom Brady blowing through all the age stop signs, Tom Brady showing no sign of deterioration, has put them in this position. Now, they won a Super Bowl 2 years thanks to it. They came within a drive of winning another one last year, and they're the favorites this year. They would take that trade, but they had the contract ran out. Like, I don't know what other choice they had.
I was going to say, what other options did they have?
That's the thing. Like, sometimes you sell a car you really missed and you loved, but you had a kid and you can't have the coupe anymore. Like, you can miss the car, but you still had to sell it. Like, I don't know what other option that the Patriots had in this situation.
I'm glad you guys mentioned the other 2 transitions that we've seen from great to great. And it worked well, but people's feathers were ruffled in the process. People don't remember the Joe Montana, how good he was at the time, and going to Steve Young, and how Joe was upset about it. Joe and his teammates were upset. There were people in the organization. Man, there was conflict in the 49ers organization. We can't move on from Joe, the greatest quarterback ever, who that next year took Kansas City
to the AFC Championship.
To the AFC Championship. So it lets you know that, man, Joe could still play. Brett Favre. I mean, there was no better example than Brett and Aaron. Back and forth, back and forth. Of course, there was people in the Green Bay's organization that had regret. They were the ones talking to Brett to keep coming back. That's what created that confusion there. So, yes, those things. I'll pose a question. In 10 years, who do you think owns the New England Patriots?
Robert Kraft.
Or his son, yeah.
It's the family.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be run by the Kraft boys, all right? Who's this report coming from?
Adam Schefter.
Adam Schefter.
Who's he buddies with?
Who's Adam Schefter friends with?
The Kraft son.
The Kraft sons. Adam Schefter going to be reporting on this team in 10 years. In 10 years, one of them boys going to be sitting where the dad is sitting right now. So this is what this is. This is about relationships. This is about a future owner in the NFL who happens to be a son who has some control, but he don't have full control. And let me tell you one regret that they thought they were going to have. They thought they were going to have how to replace Bill Belichick. Oh, Josh McDaniel. No, we're not going to let that happen. Bill, go in there and talk to him. Get him to renege on his commitment to Indianapolis. So we have the replacement to Bill in the building, but we don't have a replacement to Tom Brady. In any business, if you look at Apple, if you look at what they've done, man, you better have a succession plan. And right now, the Kraft boys, they don't think they have one.
And here's the thing. They thought they did, and it looks like they did. I mean, they had it in Garoppolo.
No, ain't no thought.
Okay.
They knew.
Okay, they knew they had, sure. They knew they had it in Garoppolo. But the reason that the comparisons of Montana to Young, Favre to Rodgers, or even Manning to Luck, to me, are a little different, is as Montana was still very good. but he wasn't as good as he had ever been. Favre was still very good. He took the Vikings to an NFC Championship game, but he wasn't at his best.
Yeah, they left the door open because they weren't their best.
Because they were slowly deteriorating.
Yes.
When they drafted Garoppolo, Brady was slowly deteriorating. And then in 2015, he was amazing. In 2016, they win the Super Bowl. He has an all-time comeback. And he starts 2017 on an MVP pace and finishes it on an MVP pace. So Brady, you'd be moving on for Brady at apex Brady.
Now, Chris, I think that maybe the organization wouldn't have those regrets if you had traded Garoppolo to Cleveland, because you would either have a player or draft picks that you would be like, okay, at least we have a plan for which Brian Hoyer is not a plan, all right? If he's riding in the car, you plan on calling AAA. If the car gets crashed, you don't plan on him driving the car.
Which I think is interesting, because if you think about who's the most calculated, least personal, if you will, least worried about relationships and ruffling relationships, of any coach in the league, and it would be Bill Belichick. And now we're assuming, or maybe it's floating out there, that the one move where he actually had some, like, you know, maybe I have some personal feelings for this kid and I want him to land softly, is in the move, one of the most important moves the organization has made in the last couple of years, which is basically trading away Tom Brady's replacement.
Well, here's the thing. It was an ownership decision, right? Robert Kraft had to sign off on it, and there was no way that he was going to allow Bill Belichick to move on from Tom Brady this offseason by cutting him. So it was a situation, we're going to keep Tom Brady here as the quarterback. Well, if you know that that's being made, then you got to move on from Jimmy G before the trade deadline. That's exactly what they did. Right. And I don't think they did bad for themselves when getting a second-round pick, because San Francisco is an awful team. You thought that would be a little higher. When they traded him,
they hadn't won a game yet.
Yeah,
you thought they might be the first pick in the second round.
Exactly. So it's not as if they didn't get fair compensation for it, but everybody in the league knew that at some point they had to move on from one of these quarterbacks. I think everybody's just a little surprised that it was Jimmy Garoppolo and not Tom Brady.
And go ahead, Steve.
Well, his play, Nick, you have pointed out his play has been on a level that they had to look at the backup compared to looking at the aging great.
Well, that's the thing is we can, and I understand why if I were one of the Kraft sons, and I'm like, man, my dad's going to get all the credit for the Brady era. I'm going to look like a fail son if I don't have a quarter. If the Patriots fall off when Brady's gone, I get all that, but also, in fairness, to 5 years, $137 million and 5 straight wins, let's all pump the brakes a bit on that. This is Steve Young. This is Aaron Rodgers. At least color me skeptical that we're going to see Jimmy Garoppolo in that light in a San Francisco 49er uniform.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.